All right, what is up, everyone? Super excited for today's video. We got to talk about TLT, okay? You guys have been in the comment section saying, what's going on with TLT? Give us some updated charts. TLT recently just had its highest oversold reading in over 1 year. We're going to talk about that, what that could mean for TLT. We're also going to talk about why that is, like what's the possibility of that? Why is that happening? One of those is the yield curve, right? If we take a look at the yield curve in the S&P 500, we'll break down that relationship as well. All right. But there was a very big sell signal. Okay. And we've gotten this sell signal numerous times. If you guys have been watching my videos on TLT for years, you probably know what this sell signal is. We shared it with all of the Discord members over a month ago. Okay. Almost exactly a month ago, we shared it. And TLT has been dropping like a rock ever since. Now, when you zoom out to the larger time frames, is it the end of the world for TLT right now? No, and we'll go over the key things that we need to watch and pay attention to. I still think that we have a bearish cycle completion in TLT. We'll break down this chart here as well, explain what I'm thinking there. Um, but one of the things that you guys need to pay attention to is agriculture. Okay, the DBA tracks the agriculture fund, and essentially these two have an inverse relationship. And agriculture has been steadily making higher highs. This is a long-term chart, right? A max monthly chart. This is a shorter term chart right here, a 1 year, 1 day chart. We'll break down this relationship and go over what it means for TLT. And then when it comes to the stock market, do we need to be panicking right now? We'll break down why I think the answer to that question is no, simply by looking at the data and the high-low index as well as the advanced decline line. So it's going to be a really good video. We'll talk about the S&P 500, how we've been trading it as we continue to make new highs here. It's been following the analysis very well. And we'll break down, all of the examples I gave you guys and went over in the Discord so that you guys can start to learn and, practice some of these things in your own trading. Okay. So it'll be a great video. There's been plenty of other trades we've been hitting, such as MU, TTEK, and I can't even go over all of the different Pulse Finder, Zone Finder, and many other plays that we've had. Now, as always, the content provided on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be relied upon as legal, financial, or investment advice. So be sure to read through the disclaimer, and we'll go ahead and get right into the video here, talking about TLT getting its highest oversold reading in over 1 year. Now, this is not a good sign, okay? People often confuse the RSI with a buy-sell indicator. If it's something's overbought, you sell. If it's oversold, you buy, when really it's a momentum indicator. And what we're seeing is that we are having the worst momentum we've seen in over a year. So what happened when momentum was this low? Well, take a look where TLT was, right? What did we get? We got a dead cat bounce and we continued lower, right? And then over here, this was our lowest RSI rating in years. What did we do? We ended up bouncing and then heading lower. Okay, now this purple line here is your 200-day moving average. And you can see we finally were trading above it. And here we're trading back below it. So oftentimes you can have the moving average shuffle or the VWAP shuffle, where price is basically shuffling around, right? You can see moving up and down around the VWAP or around this moving average in this case. Here, doing the moving average shuffle right before ultimately making new lows, and then here doing the same thing before making highs and higher highs. So I wouldn't be surprised due to this oversold reading, and how oversold we are if we get some type of a dead cat bounce. But we really need that to turn into more than just a dead cat bounce and really stay above this 200-day moving average. Okay. If we do a little moving average shuffle here and then continue heading lower, that's definitely a possibility. And there are some reasons to think that could perhaps happen. Okay. Now, why has TLT been dropping so much? Like a lot of people, I was very surprised by the reaction in the bond market when the Fed actually cut rates. Yields have gone up since then. Treasury yields have gone higher. Monetary policy has gone higher. Financial conditions have tightened. This is the exact opposite effect that you would think Jerome Powell cutting rates would have on the market. And a lot of people are saying it's because the economy is very strong, or perhaps that inflation could be coming back. Now, what we've got here is the yield curve in blue, okay, and this is zero, okay, so you can see that the yield curve almost got inverted again, okay, almost got inverted again here, which is honestly pretty strange, right? But if you take a look at the red line, this is the S&P 500, as the yield curve was steepening, right, we started to see the stock market pull back. But really, since that point, we have this little trend line here, right, for the yield curve. We broke out, retested, headed higher. So it does look like the yield curve, wants to stay uninverted, wants to stay out of inversion. But for a moment there, we saw that the yield curve almost actually, came back down. And for a slight moment, it was actually inverted again. Now, since then, since we've bounced off this trend line, both the S&P 500 and the yield curve are continuing to rise after this little, period here where we saw yield curve break out, okay, and the S&P 500 pull back. Now, what is the sell signal that I was talking about on TLT? Well, the MACD has been a great buy and sell signal for TLT, the daily chart MACD. Whenever you get a bearish crossover, okay, it typically has led to a sell-off. Now, some of these sell-offs are just a few days before we bottom. Some of them are very long and extended, right? Such as these periods here, such as this period here, right? Those are a couple examples, and we're in one of those extended periods. Once we got the MACD crossover right here, I was telling everyone, hey, it's very likely that TLT is going to continue heading lower. We have the support level here right around 97.25. And if we break through that support level, we have one gap down, we have two gap down, three gaps down, and four gaps down. Letting everybody know that, hey, we need to be cautious here because we are getting the sell signal. We know that TLT typically moves lower. But previously on the sell signals, we've been recovering after a few days, right? These are the last three sell signals right here from the daily MACD, and they were very short selling periods, right? They did not last longer than a week. And so the question was this going to be an extended selling period? And that's exactly where we at. TLT has filled the 94 gap down, the 95.50 gap down, and we still have another gap down at 91 and 85 to 86. Now the question is, what would it take for this gap all the way down here to fill? Well, the economy would have to be booming and we would need a really large spike in inflation and the Fed would need to start increasing rates again, okay? If that happens, then it's possible we can come down and fill this 85 to 86. Now on the technicals, if TLT, gets some type of a dead cat bounce, and we, continue to stay under that 200-day moving average that we talked about, then it's very possible TLT can come down and fill this $91 gap. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the world, right? When we take a look at the weekly chart still broke its recent downtrend. Okay, we had a very nice downtrend breakout, and this right here could just be the simple retest. Okay, so if we come down to around 91, that could be a retest of this trend line for a continued push up higher. Now, if you're someone that's got a long-term time horizon, you're not looking to just swing trade TLT or grab options on TLT, this is a good place to dollar cost average. Okay, and the reason I say that is because yields are still relatively high compared to where they have been in the past. So if you're looking to diversify the portfolio with some type of bonds and it's a long-term hold position, they still offer a really attractive yield. And if the economy does collapse and people really think that we're about to get this large recession that so many people think we have, the Fed is going to cut rates and most likely very aggressively, and that would result in price appreciation in TLT. Now, if that doesn't happen, you can still lock in those really nice yields. Okay, so it's a good hedge for a portfolio, but it's also a good position if you're just looking to collect a good yield. So right here, what we're looking at is the anchored VWAP from the low and the anchored VWAP from our previous highs, the 109.68, right? This is basically our shelf that we've been stuck under for 2 years, okay? And so when you're above the VWAPs, price is bullish. When you're below the VWAP, price is bearish. And you can see that we finally got above these VWAPs and we had a very bullish push up higher. And now we're retesting those VWAPs right along with the 200-day moving average. And so is this an area, again, where we could potentially see some type of bounce? Yeah, it is. But we really need to see a sustained bounce, okay? TLT ultimately really needs to hold above 93. Above 93, we're going to be remaining above the anchored VWAP from the lows, and then above 96, 95 will be above the anchored VWAP from the highs, and that's when things get a little bit more bullish for TLT, and you could potentially look to see if TLT can see a sustained rally up above 100 to around 102, and that would put us with a high and a higher high. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for on TLT. Now I still think that we have that bearish cycle completion. Okay. And the reason because markets tend to move in 5-wave and 3-wave structures, with your 5-wave structures being the primary impulsive move, and then you get a 3-wave recovery afterwards, right? And so you look at this weekly time frame chart here, we have a strong 1 down, 2 up, three down, with wave three being the most impulsive wave, very clear here. Then a wave four and wave five completion that completed down in prior cycle demand. Now, we would be looking for an ABC that takes us anywhere up to 116, 127, or even 137. Now, remember, this is a long time, okay? This is like a 3-4 year period that TLT has been stuck in this downtrend. All right. This move up to potentially 116, 127, or 137 is not going to happen, very quickly. Okay. This is something that could take all of 2025. This is something that could take into 2026 or longer. Whenever you're looking for the ultimate ABC up, this could take years, right? This isn't something to trade short term off of. Now, one thing you can look at to help gain an edge in the market, and this is one of the things that I have available to people in the Discord or for you to just purchase separately. I've got all these different chart layouts that do intermarket analysis. And when you do intermarket analysis on the agriculture versus bonds, you can see that over the long term, they have an inverse relationship. Okay, this is a max monthly chart. So this is years and years and years that this inverse relationship has been happening, where bonds go higher as agriculture goes lower, and as agriculture goes higher, bonds go lower. And when you look at the 1 year, 1 day relationship chart, you can see here that agriculture's been putting in highs, lower highs, right? Or lows, higher lows, right? And highs, higher highs. Meanwhile, TLT is putting in lows and lower lows. So this relationship right here really explains some of the price action in TLT from a technical analyst standpoint. From a fundamental standpoint, we see the agriculture funds going up. That could potentially be a signal that inflation could be coming back around. Okay. If that's going to be a case, then the markets are pricing in less rate cuts. Okay. That's essentially is a fundamental theory behind some of the price action right here. Now, when it comes to the stock market, do we need to be worried? One of the things that I look for is a divergence in the high-low index versus the actual price action of the S&P 500. And here we've got high and we've got a higher high. We've got a low and a higher low. And in the S&P 500, we see the same thing. We see, low, higher low, higher low. We see high, higher high. So this is moving in accordance with the price action of the stock market, and it makes sense that we're getting new all-time highs. So no divergent signal there to be cautious of currently at the moment. Now, when you look at the advanced decline line, and this is something that I keep showing, I've been showing since we were over here. It's very hard to be bearish on the market when you have the number of stocks advancing versus declining, continuing to hit new all-time highs. And it's very rare that the S&P 500 is not making new all-time highs as this is happening as well. And sure enough, we are making new all-time highs, right? We just made new all-time highs. We're seeing the advanced decline line at new all-time highs. Sometimes you'll see this at new all-time highs, and the S&P 500 is lagging a little bit, and it's very common for the S&P 500 to end up catching up to that afterwards. Okay. Now this is what we've been tracking on the SPY and taking a look at. And if we break it down from the original post, okay, we're talking about how SPY reclaimed the all-time high anchored VWAP at 570. If we hold above 570, SPY can keep heading higher. That was this purple line, right? We talked about below an anchored VWAP, you're bearish, below an or above an anchored VWAP, you're bullish. You can see here we gapped up above it, okay, and started a 5-wave structure to the upside. And on Friday, we hit our wave 5 targets very beautifully right here, up around 580. It went exactly where we wanted it to. Okay. And then on Wednesday, we were talking about the Elliott wave structure set up here, the 1-2 down, and then 3, and how this looked like a wave 4. And I said, hey, if we do gap down tomorrow, because we had CPI the next day, it still is a valid wave 4 structure, and we just simply want to hold above 574. And look, we gapped down right here. We had a gap down. We held above 574, and sure enough, we came up and hit those 580 targets. Those aren't the only things we've been trading. We had some other really good day trades on MU. MU, we were looking at a nice trend line breakout, looking for a move back up to 105 when it was around $100. And that happened very quickly. Before noon, it went well above 105. You can see people catching that in the Discord. TTEK was another one. This is a stock that not too many people know about, but an extremely bullish weekly time frame. We start off with the higher time frames, do multiple time frame analysis, and we saw that it was forming a small base here above a key level, a breakout level here of 47.77. So when we zoom into a 1 hour, what did we see? Well, we saw another base on the 1 hour chart, bull flagging, right? And that bull flag fired and came right up to our price target of 49.32. Another really, really great trade that we were able to capture in the Discord. So if you guys want to join that, all right, there'll be a link in the description, but I did start a completely free newsletter for you. It's called Investment Intelligence, and I give out really good, free, valuable finance and trading related content. And I even sprinkle in some free trade ideas. Go check out the website because there is a website associated with it, and you can read some of the previous articles and see some of those trade ideas in there. Now, you can get into the private trading group, the Discord, using promo code Powell will get you guys a nice discount. And inside of there, you're going to have over 20 plus swing trade ideas every week, custom scripts and indicators, exclusive intel, and exclusive chart layouts. Okay. And I also do a lot of options trading. So a lot of the charts that I'm posting and a lot of the trade ideas I'm posting, if you are an options trader, they tend to have relatively liquid options market, or if not a very liquid options market. Okay, now two separate products that I've launched so far are the Pulse Radar. This is for people looking for 1 to 30 day swing trades. Okay, so I have stuff in there for different people, right? If you join the Discord and get full access, you'll have access to the Pulse Radar. This is what the pulse radar looks like. This is what the indicators look like, and the chart layout looks like. You get all of these whenever you gain access to it on top of the scan. We had a nice inverse head and shoulder on PCG. You can see that the short-term call options went up well over 1,000% on the runners, and the long-term call options went up well over 100%, over 200%. The idea, if you're someone trading options with these instruments, is you want to sell the double, right? So you want to, take a position that is not going to hurt your portfolio if that position is a loss. Once you get the double, once it goes up 100%, you sell half, and then the other half is a free ride. And sometimes you get these really amazing gains where it's up hundreds and hundreds of percent. Sometimes it's up even thousands of percent. And that makes up for the losers, right? Because not every trade is always going to be a winner. Now, there's also the zone finder, okay? One of the plays this morning, BHC, just took some profits on that. That was from the zone finder, popped up in the zone finder twice last week. This is an intraday to swing trade list. So this is based off a 1 hour time frame. Sometimes these patterns fire in one day and you're able to get out of the trade in one day with really nice gains. Sometimes it takes a day or two to swing trade, right? So this is anywhere from an intraday to a 5 day swing trade list. So again, I have different products for you guys, different tools for people looking for those really quick trades, and you want quick trades every single week. The zone finder is going to be your thing. They've got type stop losses, very well defined risk. Okay. And then for someone looking to be more of a swing trader, right, and looking for a little bit longer than just a day or a couple days. That's what the pulse radar is for. Okay. Those trades can take anywhere from 1 to 30 days. Now, in the newsletter, okay, you are going to want to sign up for that. I did exhibit the very first trade idea from the zone finder into the newsletter, and you can see it's got the demand zone here. It's got the supply zone with your price targets to the upside. We had a nice falling wedge after a gap up, and sure enough, that play ended up working beautifully in just one day, getting well over 200% on the shorter dated call options and 70% on the longer dated call options, okay? So you can read the newsletter, check out some of those previous articles, see if it's something you want signed up for and sent directly to your email inbox. And if you ever want to do a coaching session, you can use the link in my description to head to my Ko-Fi page. In there, you can click on the commissions tab and you can book a 1 hour, or you can book a 30-minute coaching session. They also have this cool little button for buy a coffee. It's basically a way to leave a tip or donation for all the free valuable content I put out, such as the newsletter and such as these videos. Thanks again for watching. Please hit that subscribe button and share the video. Help me get to 10K subscribers. I'm almost there. I'm trying to get to 10K subs by the end of the year, and I would really appreciate your support on that.